Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for some more streamer lore. Sorry, I've been holding out on you the past couple days. I haven't actually checked how long it's been, but I've just been doing other shit. We've been playing a little bit of games. I've honestly kind of just taken a break from streaming the past couple days, but we are right back where we left off. Bam. Here we go. Oh, okay. Bam. Sure, that works. All right, so I was thinking about videos to do with this series, and I'm really glad that I stumbled back into this one. I have apparently watched it for 2 minutes, but we've been here with Vaush for like the past 2 or 3 hours. I can't remember now. I think 3 hours. And yeah, we haven't really heard a concrete proposition for how Vaush wants to establish his ideological world, and I feel like we really might get it here. Then we'll be taking a look at Tim, and then we'll be taking a look at why I made this series. This video is why I started making streamer lore, because Vaush says something in here that I think we should all hear at some point. Anyway, let's get into it. I think you guys saw my watch later. That's fine. All right. Yeah. Is there anything we need to do? Close room 2 maybe. Still open from yesterday's stream. Okay. Let's get into it, folks. I'm glad you're here. It's a beautiful May 12th. Hopefully the audio balance is a little bit better than last stream. I will try not to like yell into the microphone as much as I did before. If I have to get close, I'll quiet my voice like this from now on. Yeah. Sorry for the cringy intro. It's been a while since I did this, but let's get back into it. Oh, also, I think I'll need to take a food break at some point this stream. I made the mistake of eating no food today, and it's 5 p.m., so gotta eat food.
I'm sure most of you guys have probably seen by now the video that I did on Joshua Collins and some of the disappointment that I felt when it seemed as though he didn't know what the fuck he was doing when it came to electoral efficacy. And it made me think, like, I still haven't actually done
Is Vaush too loud?
any videos on how I want to establish socialism in the United States.
I'm gonna assume no.
And a lot of people have criticized me for that. And I keep saying, I'll get to it. Like, what would you do? Like, what's your actual game plan, you know? A lot of people, Destiny criticized me for this too. Destiny criticized me. Like, you want to talk about, like, this society. You want to talk about what's here.
Oh, maybe this came after that Destiny video that we're going to watch later.
You can't talk about how to get to that point, okay? So I want to talk about that.
It's good to see Vaush responding to criticism. I'd say maybe I shouldn't launch. No, I'm not. I was about to say that out of the three main left streamers, Vaush is the worst at responding to criticism. But let's actually wait until we get to the end of our survey before we decide that.
All right.
I really am not that familiar with Destiny. I would say that Hassan is better than taking criticism than Vaush, no question.
I'm going to try and keep this as expedient as possible. All right. And we're going to do it using Paint. But before we get to
another Paint video.
Paint, I need to talk about something very important to you. Okay? Why do I want to be a socialist? Okay? So, on a very, very fundamental level, I get called a lot of things. Socialist, market socialist, libertarian, socialist, leftist, anarchist, anarcho-syndicalist, mutualist. There are a lot of things that I get called.
So far, I'd say he's an anarcho-syndicalist.
Broadly speaking, here are my opinions, okay? The progress of history is slow, you know? Imagine we live in like a slave state, like Egypt, you know, back in 2000 BC or something like that. If I lived in such a society, do you think if I was intelligent enough to know what socialism was, I could meaningfully advocate for its implementation right then and there? Probably not. Because if we agree, generally speaking, with historical materialism, the idea is that the material relationships of society advance to a point where we can then make meaningful progress. Marx agreed that socialism was a necessary step in moving society forward, and I agree with him on that, because I think that socialism did a pretty excellent job of codifying the development of a modern industrial economy, which socialism can then take advantage of.
Sorry for being quiet, but Vaush is actually doing great here.
Now, even if you don't agree generally with those ideas, even if that is the case, the fact remains nonetheless that, like, you can't just wait. Did I not say? Did I say?
We are recording, right?
What did I say? Whatever I said, I mean.
Sorry, son of a bitch. We are recording. I screwed up the first 15 minutes of my stream yesterday, and I'm really paranoid about it now. But I'm glad you're here, and you guys will let me know if there's anything wrong.
Capitalism, my bad. I said socialism when I meant liberalism. Capitalism, my apologies. Socialism will overtake socialism. Well, that might happen too. Yeah. Non-stop warfare, comrades. Marx believed that capitalism had a purpose to serve, and I think I generally agree with that. I would also agree that feudalism was a necessary step in removing power away from like the divine right of absolute monarchs, and the divine right of absolute monarchs were probably a superior system to like theological confederacies or the Roman Empire maybe. There's a progression over time with history.
We're not gonna get into it, and also, yeah, he's actually probably right about that, but. No, but that's a really complicated question that Vaush didn't even know that he opened up. Were the Diocletian reforms that laid the groundwork for medieval feudalism worse than the previous Roman imperial and republican system that dominated Europe before the Diocletian reforms? That's a really good question. We will talk about it later. I actually started writing a video for that like a long time ago. I still have it. I think it's over 1,000 words. Maybe I'll check it out.
And
I'll check it out.
Complicated, and
you guys don't get to see it,
I'm
obviously.
not a fucking historian, so I'm not going to focus on that. I want to focus on today. Right now, today, we live in a capitalist society, a laissez-faire capitalist society, which means that, generally speaking, our economic system is oriented around the idea that any individual can acquire capital privately. So
yeah, it's just a 1,000-word draft. Rethinking the Diocletian reforms, and it has a juicy subtitle as well. I'm gonna keep that for myself too.
Money that they can use to turn into more money, to turn into more, capital.
Shit, I'm lost. I'm sorry.
Today, we live in...
Got too excited about the Roman Empire. Happens a lot.
And it's all very complicated, and I'm not a fucking historian or the rocks and the divine right of absolute monarchs.
Here we go.
Probably a superior system to like...
Sorry about that, folks. Also, I'll try and... I'll keep pausing, but I'll try not to pause and unpause so repeatedly.
Theological confederacies or the Roman Empire maybe. There's a progression over time with history, and it's all very complicated, and I'm not a fucking historian, so I'm not going to focus on that. I want to focus on today. Right now, today, we live in a capitalist society, a laissez-faire capitalist society, which means that, generally speaking, our economic system is oriented around the idea that any individual can acquire capital privately, so money that they can use to turn into more money, to turn into more, capital, and that this can be done. Anyone can do this. That's unique. It didn't used to be that case, Back in the feudal days, not anyone could just become a successful businessman. And even if you did become successful, you were usually made subservient. Libraven, it's called laissez-faire capitalism as opposed to mercantile capitalism. It doesn't mean that it's literally laissez-faire with no restrictions whatsoever in the market. It's a juxtaposition to the former system of capitalism. Mercantile capitalism meant that there was more of a union, like an orientation between the relationship between merchants and the state, or I guess back then it would be like the monarchy. And I don't like this system very much. I think it's kind of cringe, basically. The main problem that I have with capitalism is that it's not democratic and that it creates inequality. Those are my main issues.
Gotcha.
Now, when I say...
Vaush is doing a way better job than he has in the past 3 hours. I actually have to say this video is a cut above the rest, and I'm actually like struggling. Like I feel like I don't have a lot of commentary to put in because Vaush is being very, very concise here as well.
It's not democratic. What I mean by that are two fundamental things. One, the existence of people with more capital than others.
Oh, maybe he's reading from a list. Oh no, he's probably just reading from chat. I was just about to say, like, looking from his eyes and like his eye line, which maybe we shouldn't try and impugn what he's doing based on his eye line. He is reading off of a list of prepared talking points, which might explain why he's so much more coherent in this video than he was in the past too. But by the way, there's nothing wrong with that.
Means that our political, electoral, democratic system.
Ideological implementation is an extremely complicated subject, and I can't talk about it off the cuff or with talking points on a monitor on stream. So Like, no shame. I really hope I didn't make it feel like I was shitting on him there.
Is going to be made subservient to the interests of some people more so than the interests of other people. I.e., if you're super wealthy and you can create super PACs and you can create like lobbying groups and you can represent your interests in Washington, you're probably going to have more of an influence in the political sphere than an average Joe working at a fucking, Starbucks in Chicago. Probably, generally speaking. And the second reason I say it's undemocratic is because workplaces are authoritarian. They are. Like, really think about it.
That was a funny dramatic pause.
In a democratic society, democracy works great for our electoral system. I mean, it's preferable to the alternative, at least. But with workplaces, they're pretty authoritarian. I mean, they literally are. You can be fired.
Not that they're derived based primarily on consent of the employer and employee or anything. Don't mention that at all. But they are inherently authoritarian.
For any reason, you don't get a say in the rules of that workplace.
Whoa, what?
I mean, they literally are. You can be fired for any reason.
No, it's not like we have labor laws or anything.
You don't get a say in the rules of that workplace.
It's not like you can leave if you don't like the rules.
You don't really get a say in how your labor is expressed and oriented.
Except, your consent to take the job and receive the money for doing the labor.
These are all like really, really, really severe problems to me. I think they hurt people. I think it fucking sucks that most people will spend their entire lives utterly dependent on an authoritarian system to survive.
Dude, maybe... Oh, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm really glad you're here. Maybe instead of establishing a revolution, we should pass an unemployment insurance system and universal basic income instead of declaring the entire capitalist system defunct. That would be my proposition. And also, like, I am not going to defend capitalism as an ideological or economic system that's without coercion. I am just going to defend it as a system that is much less coercive than Vaush's ideological system.
I think it sucks that the average person will never have as much influence into the broader political system as small groups of, corporate hegemonies and business people and investors and capital owners and stuff. That bothers me. Now, my preferred system is not one which is oriented around hatred for any group. Not landlords, not cops, not rich people.
I literally think I heard Vaush on... No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say something I heard Vaush say on stream unless I can actually find it. So, sorry.
All of these groups of people have the capacity individually to be good, hardworking, upstanding, moral people. But it remains a fact, nonetheless, that these...
Oh, hey, man. You're a socialist and think that Vaush is an idiot who has no idea what he's talking about. You are not the only socialist who has come into this chat who thinks that. Yeah. I think that he is the most popular left-wing content creator. So, I slapped him. We're talking about it today. Oh, do we not have a chat up today? Oh, that's super weird. Let me get that going for you. What the hell? Okay. Sorry, something has happened to my OBS, clearly. Oh, the resolution is right. I have a 1440p monitor. There we go. Okay. Chat is back in the bottom right of the screen. Sorry about that, folks.
People are complicit in maintaining the existence of this system.
Ah, fuck. I'm lost. I gotta get better at this. I gotta get better at, like, maintaining what's in the back of his... What he's talking about in the back of my head.
On hatred for any group. Not landlords, not cops, not rich people. All of these groups of people have the capacity individually to be good, hardworking, upstanding, moral people. But it remains a fact, nonetheless, that these people are complicit in maintaining the existence of this system. I would go as far as to say, I would run this back. I don't think that every slave owner back in the 19th century would have individually been a bad person. I think that people's moral systems are largely molded by the world that they were born into. I think that the goal should always be to challenge the system and not...
Dripping with nuance, by the way. Not all slave owners were necessarily bad because of the system that they participated in. I feel like he thinks that's a very nuanced opinion.
To challenge the individual. To challenge the individual is exclusionary. To challenge
Sorry, that was
the
kind of bad,
individual
babe.
is reductive. But to challenge the system, which we should be doing as intersectional leftists, this is what does genuine work. So then we ask, how do we make society better? Well, this is my goal.
Let's do it.
The first thing, and there is a three-way movement that we have to shore up on all fronts. The first
I'm really excited. I hope I'm not putting way too much credit and way too much hope in this video, but yeah, we've been sitting down with Vaush for 3 hours and we really haven't heard how he wants to establish a good socialism. And we're here. We're here for the next 18 minutes to hear how he's going to do it.
Are, at least for now, more important than the last one. The first one is the culture war, baby.
Big circle, baby.
This is what I do. At the end of the day, political power is built by numbers. That's it. Support and public popularity are the bedrock of all populist movements, and we are a populist movement. Unless you want to do some weird, like, secretly become head of the CIA and launch a military coup for leftism kind of thing, which historically tends not to be how leftism is implemented in the real world. Our goals are to push people towards values that will make them more receptive to our political goals. So, here are some examples of things that we do to win the culture war. I'm about to list a lot of stuff, or at least I could.
Establish socialism by winning the culture war. Step 1.
Changing people's minds individually in person, debating people on Discord to try and get your views out there, making YouTube channels to disseminate information to people
Hello.
who want to find better criticisms of conservative values, debating
Hey, I'm even doing that.
conservatives.
Look at me. Look at me. Come on, Vaush.
Pushing values like, say, for example, solidarity, camaraderie, trans rights, anti-white supremacy, anti-racism, anti-colonialism, and all other forms of progressive values generally into the broader public. Petitioning these values to politicians. Trying to get these values normalized in public discourse and in media. Producing media that normalizes these values. Hey, has anyone seen the season finale of She-Ra? Normalizing these values by pushing them in every media space imaginable, up to and including TV, movies, and what have you. Doing everything that you can to make sure that people are aware of the fact that there are alternatives to the pre-existing systemic hegemony. In person, we have direct action. We have working and volunteering. We have people who can engage in real life to convince people that the systems that they work within are not effective.
Okay.
You can create nonprofits. You can work at nonprofits. Everything that you can do to convince people that our values are good and their values are not is building this. And you know this for a fact. We just talked to Chris Ray Gun. When Chris Ray Gun did his little videos, guys, I don't care what Sargon is saying or doing unless he's up to debate, okay? I genuinely don't care. He's a coward and he'll shit talk from behind a wall all he wants. I genuinely do not care.
Interesting. Not talking about Sargon. I'm talking about this big circle that we have here.
We watched
think we're gonna get into Vaush's like super cynical take on politics.
Talked about the Chris,
which I actually think we haven't gotten into super a lot so far.
Ray Gun videos when we talked with Chris Ray Gun. How many people do you think Chris Ray Gun red pilled on anti-SJWism with his silly little music videos? How many?
Oh, I've never heard of Chris Ray Gun, by the way. Oh. He claims to be a dialectical materialist. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna stop shouting into the microphone. He claims to be a dialectical materialist. He is not. Here he is saying that the way to change society is to change people's ideas directly. A materialist sees the ideas people have as not being a product of economics. Vaush does not understand this. I think that Vaush sees people entirely as products of their circumstances. I think I disagree with your interpretation of Vaush, of what Vaush said here. I will rewind so that we can both hear it again. 30 seconds? 30 seconds. Let's go back a minute, actually.
We have
oh, wait, it's mostly about Sargon,
action.
Isn't it? Oh, wait, let's get the list.
Convince people to talk to Chris Ray Gun building this. And
oh, I kind of see what you're saying. I guess a little bit. Like, if Vaush believed in true materialism, he wouldn't be advocating for changing people's ideas by doing those things. Is that what you're saying? That's totally true. I feel like that is not in line with materialism. Dude, Twitch chatters, man, you should have seen the people we had yesterday, last stream. We had some dark MAGA people. This guy's actually seems pretty articulate. He's telling people to change society by winning the culture war, i.e. convincing people that their values are wrong, changing their ideas. This is not a materialist outlook. Yeah, dude, you are right on the money. I don't know much about materialism. I have to say, I really haven't read enough theory to like debate Marxism.
And you know this for a fact. We just talked to Chris Ray Gun.
Also, hey man, thanks for being here. I'm really glad that you're here chatting with me, even though you're a socialist. A materialist wants to change the economy and have that change people's shitty views.
Chris Ray Gun did his little videos. Guys, I don't care what Sargon is saying or doing unless he's up to debate, okay? I genuinely don't care. He's a coward and he'll shit talk from behind a wall all he wants. I genuinely do not care.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We talked about the Chris Ray Gun videos when we talked with Chris Ray Gun. How many people do you think Chris Ray Gun red-pilled on anti-SJWism with his silly...
Oh, how's the audio balance, by the way? Am I too loud, too quiet? Is Vaush perfect?
...little music videos? How many people do you think he got over? 100,000? 200,000? A million people, possibly? Probably a lot of fucking people.
Thank you.
Probably a fuck ton of people.
Vaush is showing people that he does not see political ideas as being a product of economics. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like Vaush does pretend to be a materialist, not a... I don't even know what he would be, like a Hegelian.
Too many people, perhaps? Now, with that being the...
I don't think that Vaush thinks that you can, like, change people's minds by convincing them with, like, logical arguments. I think he's too cynical about that. I think that he thinks that people are more product of the circumstances and can't change their minds by listening. He says he's a materialist, but he does not think like one.
Case, we have to recognize that a lot of the people who enjoyed the stuff that Chris Ray Gun produced, or that Sargon of Akkad produces, funnily enough, or any of these more reactionary content creators produce, pushes people towards political systems and political beliefs that normalizes the implementation of their actual policy positions. That's the main issue. The main issue isn't that if we have, like, anti-SJWs on YouTube, they'll be mean to people. The main issue is that anti-SJWs will usually have their views normalized through the political space. Like, say, for example...
Oh, yeah, actually, this is a really good question while you're here, and it seems like you identify as a materialist. How do materialists account for the radicalization of the opposing side of their ideology? Like, I feel like materialists would believe that the revolution that would be established would, come from capitalist contradictions, increasing class consciousness, but lots of things push people in the other direction. Do you know how would you account for that in your material analysis of how socialism will come about?
For Trump, or say, for example, opposing the C-16 bill in Canada, or say, for example,
What was that?
their
We're not going to talk about Bill C-16 today.
actual policy positions.
Materialists realize that people are going to be radicalized no matter what. Capitalism cannot help but radicalize people, as it inevitably decays. I don't think capitalism is decaying fast enough to justify your argument, sir.
That's the main
I really don't think that capitalism is decaying.
issue. The main issue isn't that if we have, like, anti-SJWs on YouTube, they'll be mean to people. The main issue is that anti-SJWs will usually have their views normalized through the political space. Like, say, for example, voting for Trump, or say, for example, opposing the C-16 bill in Canada, or say, for example, voting in local conservative representatives for Congress and for Senate and for the gubernatorial seat and all that stuff. That's the main issue. Usually when I focus on these, like, cultural, like, oh...
The left's job should be to make sure that people are radicalized the correct way, but they are not doing this. Yeah, I'm kind of about radicalizing people the correct way too. I guess I would say.
Let's discuss this stuff. It's not just for harm reduction in the sense that I want to make YouTube less shitty. I mean, that's nice, The main issue is that
sadly, the left is often defending the establishment.
People who are made less shitty also vote differently than people who are more shitty. And that's the real problem. The right has done an extraordinarily good job advancing cultural conditions to bring people over into voting for conservative policies. It's very easy to do this for the right. Think about George Bush. Think about George Bush's approval rating immediately after
So far, I gave Vaush way too much credit 8 minutes ago.
9/11. Stuff like being attacked, stuff like an immigrant wave.
We're almost halfway done. We are actually halfway done this video pretty much. And yeah, we're not building socialism. We're winning the culture war. We haven't even talked about using the sociological imagination to decommodify the entire economy and establish a new economic system without hierarchy. But don't worry, we still have 13 minutes.
Stuff like a war being started, stuff like posturing, all of these things can get conservatives huge amounts of public support that will then lead into them being voted into power and then voted into power again afterwards.
Hey, while you're here, man, do you consider yourself a revolutionary socialist? And if so, how would you like to establish that revolution? I really want to know how Vaush wants to establish his version of revolutionary socialism. It's kind of what we have spent around 3 hours and 12 minutes investigating.
That's a problem.
One of the things. We're mostly just here to see what Vaush thinks about politics. We're trying to figure out what all the most popular political thinkers think about politics and put those thoughts in a centralized place, which will be my YouTube channel.
So when we work towards normalizing political positions that are amicable to us, we're doing so in the eventual hope that we are able to get these positions pushed forward in actual spaces of power where it really matters. So let's talk about that.
Okay, here we go.
Here is what I would like to see.
Here's how Vaush is going to get my credit back.
Leftism is not going to win the presidency. If Bernie Sanders had become president, even if he had become president, and it's not happening now, guys, I'm really sorry, but even if he had become president, he would not have been able to do that much on his own. The main reason for that is because he would have been limited to executive actions for imposing his will on the country. Now, you can do a lot with an executive action. Apparently,
I'm opposed to violence except in self-defense, and perhaps an optimist in thinking that we can have a socialist economy without violence. However, the other side can become violent. Yeah, thank you for saying that, man. I really like talking with people who are in favor of not violently overthrowing our society and convincing everyone that they had the right ideas and that we should adopt them. So I appreciate you wanting to establish socialism by respecting human dignity and the democratic process. Unlike Vaush.
apparently these days, you can more or less declare war with
I really appreciate that. Thanks, man.
it, since nobody respects the fact that Congress needs to approve a war anymore. That just seems to be something we've skipped by. But because the House and because the Senate were not amicable to his political positions, there was just no way he could have meaningfully changed things to the extent we would have liked. And frankly, I don't really want to implement leftist policy.
I think it's worth pointing out that historically in revolutionary situations, the side that is going out of the picture has become very violent. Yeah, that's a really good point.
In this country through
Do we need to get into it? I feel like it's such a good point that it's it's barely worth exploring. Like, you're not talking to a revolutionary socialist over here. You're really not talking to a particularly a person who's particularly in favor of revolutionary violence.
fucking executive action. Is that really the way we want to do it? Now, I'm not saying I didn't want Bernie to win. Of course I did, but we have to recognize the dude would have been working with a handicap. But doing this through executive action, just the president unilaterally doing this stuff, it's a bad precedent. And the next president can just undo it. Anything you do via executive action can just be undone via executive action. Whereas if you have it pushed through House and Congress and so on and so forth, it is much, much harder to undo that stuff. Much harder.
Excuse me.
That's why the Republicans weren't able to repeal the entirety of Obamacare, because that was actually pushed through. It wasn't done via executive order. They were only able to get rid of the individual mandate. Courts can undo it also. Yeah, like...
Oh, you know what? We're calling an audible a little bit. We're all going to watch the Destiny video that inspired this one before we watch the Tim Pool one. I'm not sure. I kind of wanted to allow Vaush to elucidate his arguments with the least amount of opposition, and Destiny is going to be much more combative to Tim Pool in this video. Tim Pool, I know I'm not a huge fan of Tim Pool. Until I started listening to him more closely around a month ago, I used to like him a lot less, and now I like him more. I think that he is really good. One of the things that he's good at is just letting people talk and say what they think, and yeah, I think that I've never seen Vaush on Tim Pool, but I think that Tim Pool will let Vaush do that way better than Destiny will in this half-hour video that we'll play after this. But you'll see where we're coming from here. And Vaush, oh hey man, I'm glad you're here.
Action is just not that.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought reading chat.
Useful. Long term. Not a great way of
How's your afternoon going?
establishing long-term political changes. So here's what we need to focus on, guys, and I believe in this very, very firmly. We need to go local, Remember that, okay? All the power, all the obfuscation Republicans are able to engage in Congress
Kind of seems like syndicalism, eh?
and in the Senate comes from the fact that they have local representatives who are there, who are able to contribute to the, frankly, current immovability of the senatorial process. We need to get involved in the local electoral processes. And lately, this has been happening a lot more with the Rose Caucus, sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. If we can get more of our values pushed through these avenues, we have the ability to meaningfully affect change.
Vaush is right about this, by the way. All politics is global. A scientific socialist must have a global perspective. Oh man, I was really starting to get into like you. How can scientific socialism be true if capitalism has persisted for this long? I think that scientific socialism has to be a joke. Like, I don't believe that people can believe that it is mathematically and calculatively undeniable that the end of capitalism is upon us and has been for so long. Like, how long has the death of capitalism been upon us, in your opinion, man? I'm not trying to shit on you. It's just like, what the hell? What the hell is scientific socialism?
Look at what has been done by
We are still in the historical stage where capitalism is the world's economic system. Yeah.
AOC. Now, AOC has been doing an incredible job in...
Oh, sorry. This is what I was going to say. Vaush is right here. There are more people on the left than there are people on the right. And the right has been eating the left's lunch on all forms of federal politics. The left is, despite being like the overwhelming majority, they're so bad at politically organizing that it allows 40 to 45% of the population to be in the driver's seat in like 60 to 80% of all the legislatures. It's funny. I do think we're at the end of it, though. Okay.
My humble opinion, not perfect, but very, very good, AOC has been doing a great job threading the line. Simultaneously,
when was this
very
recorded?
Progressive, at least compared to the majority of the people in
2020. Interesting. I don't think he'd say that about AOC anymore. I don't think anyone would say that about AOC anymore. Actually, I'd be interested to hear what you think about AOC, man. Almost everyone I know on the left considers her a sellout.
The House and the Senate, and also working within
My
the
email's blowing
purview
up.
of electoral politics. Because keep in mind, if AOC just went out there on the floor and said,
Sorry about that, folks.
abolish the CIA, trans rights.
I don't quite understand the difference between socialism and capitalism. I am sure that this fine gentleman, M9300, will be happy to inform you. I started off trying to be as optimistic as possible and don't want to talk shit, but AOC is an extreme disappointment. Yeah, that's the vibe that I get from most of the people that follow her.
Rights are human rights.
Hey, tell this guy what the difference between socialism and capitalism is, why don't you?
Sees the means of production. Medicare for all. I don't know if she would be able to affect quite as much. But AOC right now is one of the most popular politicians in the country, and her influence, alongside the other Justice Dems, is so...
She was so popular until her re-election campaign. She just got the teeth totally taken out of her by her re-election campaign. Nancy Pelosi put the fear of God into her, threatening to redistrict her, and yeah, that totally put her in line. I think that that's a pretty accurate analysis of her political cowing. Is there anything else you want to say on it? Yeah.
so substantial.
I don't know. She had so much potential. Like the people who've been trying to start the left-wing Tea Party movement, like Justice Democrats and Kyle Kulinski and so many other people, they can't. Oh, what's her name? I can't believe I'm just blanking. I just thought of it. It's not Nina Sanders. Oh, Nina Turner. There we go.
That they're getting the opportunity.
Oh, I got Nina Turner and Simone Sanders mixed up. That's what just happened.
Panels within the DNC.
Oh, sorry, man. In a capitalist economy, production as a whole just goes in whatever direction capital takes it. No planning is leading the overall course. The search for profit by private entities is what determines the economy's overall course. Thanks for putting up with my dyslexia there, folks.
To actually challenge people like Pelosi. And
that's not a terrible definition of capitalism. I'll let it slide. In a socialist economy, there can still be private businesses that still profit, but the economy's course is determined by central planning. Yeah, the only thing I'll push back there on, for the sake of Evan the Great here, This requires key industries as public property rather than private. Yep. The only thing I'll push back on here is I would say that capitalism is much better at organizing efficient growth than centrally planned systems. And I would not say that. What did you say exactly? I would not say that capitalism just goes. Sorry, production just goes in whatever direction capital takes it, and that there's no planning involved. I definitely depends how you define planning. Like the market doesn't do explicit planning, but the market is kind of a computer that plans quite efficiently.
Some of the more establishment Democrats.
Speaking of economic calculation and scientific socialism, I hope that we both provided you with our perspectives as well.
It's incredible. That's insane.
Oh fuck! I'm completely lost. I'm sorry. I gotta get better at this.
Medicare for all. I don't know if she would be able to affect quite as much. How subtly affect change.
Okay.
Look at what has been done by.
Is it true that in both capitalist and socialist states, wealth has been consolidated in the hands of few people? Hot based. Thanks for coming in here, Evan the Great, representing, asking some important questions.
AOC. Now, AOC.
I would say so. Man.
AOC has been doing an incredible job, in my humble opinion. Not perfect, but very, very good. AOC has been doing.
I would say that socialism actually enhance. Oh no. I'm not sure if I would say that. I think it is not out of the question to say that socialism actually increased the amount of inequality that went into the controlling the means of production in the PRC and USSR. I am not sure that's a provable statement. I don't think it's out of the question to say that oh hey man, thanks for following. The centrally planned systems that took place there resulted in less public ownership than the private one that existed before, quote unquote private. The China and Russia were both feudalistic monarchies, not liberal states before their revolutions. So, also, dude, holy shit! Thank you for following. Really making my day. I'm glad. I hope that was you. I can't see it. I can't see it in chat yet. Yeah, that's weird. I usually have that notification. Oh, you know what? There's no freaking something's wrong with all my browser notifications. That's annoying. I'll get that back in there for you. Alerts. I'm bummed about that, man. It's weird that the alert sound played, but there was no alert. Oh, yeah, thanks, man. Thank you for following me a lot. Let's get that up there. Sorry about that, folks, and thank you for your patience. Let's also read the chat. I agree that the economy should have markets, but think a socialist market... thinks the socialist economy makes more effective use of market forces than capitalism does. In capitalism, the whole economy itself is market-based. In socialism, the markets are kind of a turbocharger under the hood. The socialist framework, the car in the engine, is still necessary. China today has a better economic model than the USSR did. The best is having key industries be public, like finance and natural resources, still having a lot of market activity. Also, China has the best relationship of public to private, with the private acting underneath the public. So if you think that the end of socialism is to establish worker control over the means of production, do you think that the public-private system in China facilitates that best? Or do you think that it is a betrayal of the initial Marxist position that a different form of socialism, let's say, needs to be used to achieve seize the means of production? Also, yeah, thank you, Evan, for following. I'm really glad you're here, and we will learn more about politics together. If you're interested in learning more about politics and me, please check out the YouTube channel that I have linked down below, which keeps all the VODs for this thing, and I'm running a political platform that will explain a little bit more about my positions in life, my positions for the province, and if you're interested in seeing my political theory and political positions, like what Vaush is going through here, I took an 8 values test that you can also find on my YouTube channel. Alright, thanks guys, we'll get back into the video now. Thanks for your patience.
A great job threading the line, simultaneously being very progressive, at least compared to the majority of the people in the House and the Senate, and also working within the purview of electoral politics. Because keep in mind, if AOC just went...
Dude, I'll get back to your chat in a minute. We gotta get through more of this video. I try and keep my reactions at twice as long as the video, and we're at 41 minutes of reaction for 15 minutes of content. I'll read that in a minute.
Out there on the floor.
Let's hear this point about AOC first, but thank you for chatting, and thank you for being here, man.
And said, abolish the CIA, trans rights are human rights,
Oh, hey, man, thanks for following.
Seize the means of production.
Hey, your alerts window should come up now. It should
Um,
work. Thank you for having that work and getting that test in there.
Medic
I really hope you followed me and that was someone I watched the stream. Yeah, you did. Hey, man, thanks for following. I'm glad you're here.
care for all. I don't know if she would be able to affect quite as much, but AOC right now is one of the most
Making my day. I love it when more than one people follow me today. Doesn't happen often. I know that the USSR. No, we're not going to read the chat right now. We're going to go on the stream.
Politicians in the country, and her influence alongside the other Justice Dems is so substantial that they're getting the opportunity to build panels within the DNC to actually challenge people like Pelosi and some of the more establishment Democrats. That's incredible. That's insane.
Look at this AOC 2020 idealism.
Pelosi has been in the seat of power for, I think, since the 1800s, maybe the 1700s.
It's just kind of funny how wrong he ended up being, eh?
Pelosi might actually predate the American Confederacy. And Pelosi has actually ceded recognition and ceded power in a way to the squad. And they've done that because, this is the important part, AOC recognizes the importance of public support.
She did, didn't she? She did, didn't she? But after her primary, something happened.
Everything that AOC does, everything she says, is part of a broader effort to normalize progressive and sometimes even socialist rhetoric.
Hey, thanks for tuning in.
That's powerful stuff.
Hope you're having a good afternoon. I'm glad you're here. We can read the chat now. We've gotten a little bit ahead. Okay. Okay, working control of the means of production is a widely misunderstood phrase. It's the working class owning the means of production, and what this means is a state has been formed that takes the economy out of domination by capital and starts planning it. It doesn't mean that every business is a co-op. It's a vulgar understanding of Marxism. I do know that the USSR was the first constitutionally socialist state. How many others were there? Less than 50. Less than 50, right? I wasn't answering the question with less than 50. I know that I don't know the number exactly, but the USSR had the first socialist economy. So I see it as the quality of life in Western societies are better. I don't know if that necessarily means that the free market enterprise says capitalism is better. It just means that big economies are better than small economies, and everyone except the primitivist maybe agrees with that. I think what M9300 would say to you, Evan, is that the Western countries with larger economies achieve their larger economies and higher standards of living primarily through exploitation. And that is one of the things that allowed them to be bigger. I would dispute that statement and say that it might have a lot more to do with economic liberalism than exploitation. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm really glad that you guys are both here and chatting about your differences. Actually makes me kind of hopeful.
I would like to see. This would be my ideal, okay? And I'm going to hit it.
Yeah, see, those countries had a huge start on industrialization.
From the ground. A nationwide effort to start supporting, funding, and popularizing more progressive or left-wing democratic political candidates is established. These political candidates...
Has Vaush ever endorsed a candidate once? Not to my knowledge.
Work locally to engage...
Or donated to a campaign fund?
...in the reenfranchisement of minorities in swing districts, which increases...
Also, we have 8 minutes now to discover how we're going to build a decommodified economic system that isn't centrally planned and doesn't have any hierarchy.
The likelihood of further Democratic constituencies to be filled.
Vaush supported Biden? Oh, interesting. Well, did he endorse him, though? You know what I mean? Did he endorse him? Did he donate?
In addition, they work as a coalition.
I hope that didn't come off as a dodge.
Within Congress and within the Senate to begin advocating for a very specific departure from traditional DNC
Also, thanks for letting me know. He's told his audience to vote for Biden at least. That is totally something that Vaush would do. Is that in line with his politics of mass organization there? Interesting. I think that's a question for another time, but thank you for letting me know. And I hope I didn't come off as hypocritical there.
Which would, we can talk about Green New Deal.
No, I hope I wasn't hypocritical there. I also hope I didn't come off as hypocritical, but I actually just hope I wasn't.
Talk about Medicare for all. We can talk, just broadly speaking, more progressive electoral legislation. We move in that direction. We strengthen this sect within the DNC, and we try to be to the DNC what the more libertarian-leaning Tea Party ended up being to the RNC, substantially moving the party over. Eventually, I believe more people are going, or at least
This is the strat, by the way.
Substantial
Vaush is right about
number
this.
of people are going to weigh in on the side of the Justice Dems, or whatever the future name for this group of people is going to be, than they would the traditional establishment Dems. The establishment Dems don't really seem to have an interest in swing states or southern states. Imagine how
Look at the chat. Look at this. Pelosi founded the Iroquois Confederacy. That's funny.
sway we would be able to get if we could have some more populist appealing progressives winning in swing states that the Democrats had previously ceded. If we work on giving these people like the resources necessary to set up polling booths, or hey, to change the laws regarding felons being able to vote or not. Did you know that 1.5 million people in Florida, if my numbers are correct, I'm pretty sure that is the case, that 1.5 million people in the state of Florida are voting restricted due to some manner of brush with the criminal justice system? Sargon, what's the chat? Okay.
I am much more willing, just on this topic, I know he didn't exactly bring it up, and I know nobody asked me. I'm much more willing to let former felons vote than I am current felons, or currently incarcerated felons. I think that if the state has the right to take away your freedom, they probably have the right to take away your freedom to vote. And if once they restore your freedom, they may as well restore your freedom to vote. It is kind of weird that we take away their right to vote from prisoners. The most standard argument that you hear is that like you don't want the prisoners to be able to vote in their political interests and like make life better for the prisoners because they would just vote for whatever party did that. And it's like, dude, somebody needs to represent the prisoners.
Okay, then I'll talk to him after this.
But yeah, if the state can take away your freedom to do all these other things while you're incarcerated, they can take away your freedom to vote while you're incarcerated. Vaush basically just takes all the Democratic Party's talking points and says exactly this, but more. Same way of thinking, it's still the same red state versus blue state, MSNBC versus Fox Theatrics. I disagree with that. I think that Vaush is different from that.
That's an insane number of people. 1.5 million people. That's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, while we're here. What the fuck? The United States. I like the United States. I'm a huge fan. How in the world are you supposed to be the world's greatest country and the world's freest country and have the highest incarcerated population per capita in the world? And not only this, the highest incarcerated population per capita in human history, greater than the Soviet Union at the peak of the gulags. That means that, the Soviet Union during its most totalitarian time had a lower percentage of its population in prison than the United States does right now. What the absolute fuck?
And if we're able to move more of these people towards, not only towards our positions, but at the very least being able to vote, we can slowly but surely start to push out the Republicans in the, yes, I did, the real red shirt guy. It reminded me of a very important thing. There are, where we can start to push out not only establishment Democrat values, but also Republicans in the Senate and in the Congress. Ideally, what would happen after we have a very large and powerful populist group within the DNC is we can start moving people towards cultural positions that are going to make them amicable.
True. Also, the USSR would gasp in horror at all the disinformation crackdown and the US stuff right now. You're joking, right? You think that the USSR would be aghast at disinformation? You're joking? No, you're just joking, right? You're not saying. I would way rather trust the private news organizations of the American mainstream media to inform me than fucking Pravda during the 20th century.
Towards socialist ideas. The right does this all the time.
Oh, you mean the U.S. censors now more than the USSR ever did? I think you're completely full of shit.
The right will set up.
Sorry if that was offensive, but dude, come on, really?
The right will like remember when Trump threatened to send
How? Yeah, develop that argument.
The military to the southern border to deal with the imposing threat of the migrants, and then it turns out the migrants weren't even there and nobody actually cared, and it wasn't actually a big deal, and it didn't mean.
Vaush did it again, by the way. We were supposed to be here to learn how Vaush wanted to build socialism, and he wants to build socialism by fighting the culture war and what, like voting for AOC?
Anything. There are
the alliance between the intelligence community and Silicon Valley is unlike anything the USSR had or was capable of. That's interesting, man. I haven't thought about it like that before. Banning things based on misinformation, etc. See, I totally disagree with you on that bottom comment there. You don't think that the USSR prevented the spread of misinformation? Like, yes, they couldn't do it through technological restrictions, but that's because they didn't have that type of technological access. They totally would if they could.
A ton of ways in which conservatives posture.
They used all the methods of controlling. Oh, ban things sometimes? Come on, man.
To bring people towards emotional states which are amicable.
It was illegal to incite racial hatred. Was it legal to criticize the USSR during the Great Patriotic War?
Towards their
it was legal to criticize the United States' participation in the Second World War.
Positions. If you get people scared about Muslims, if you get people scared about Mexicans,
you want to talk about misinformation? What do you think the party told its people when the Nazis were tumbling through Russia? Think they were like, "Oh man, the war's going really bad for us. Sorry, I purged all the officers. We'll figure this out." Yeah, no, come on, man.
Mexicans, if you get people scared about immigrants, you can get people to move to the right, and we need to do.
If there were German troops on U.S. soil, you can bet the U.S. would have censored more under those circumstances. That is 100% true, man. Yeah, that was yeah. You're right on the money there. That the United States enjoyed the privilege of maintaining their free speech and their democracy, pretty much primarily because of their isolation. Not, I wouldn't say primarily because of their isolation, but definitely one of the biggest reasons.
Do something like that too. We need to start actively working towards, hey, this might be old hat. I think this can still be done at a federal level. We can.
Dude, it was so funny that I was actually like nervous when I started this video that Vaush was gonna completely debunk all the all the criticisms I've had of him in the past 3 hours and actually lay out how to establish his ideology of a completely decommodified economic system without hierarchy or exploitation. But no. I mean, we still have 4 minutes.
Work towards the prosecution of some of the executives.
The USSR did not ban things on the basis of their being wrong. I totally disagree with you, man.
On Wall Street who were responsible for the 2007 financial crisis.
The USSR did not say this is incorrect speech and we need to ban it on that basis. I disagree with you again.
How popular do you think that would make it? Hey, like AOC, imagine like.
It was just a certain list of things that you could not say. Not an approved list of things that you could. Okay. I'd say I'm not familiar enough with the Soviet legal code, and I would say that is that difference in practice really develop a substantive difference in execution?
AOC, like up there, like, hey, Obama wouldn't do it, Bush wouldn't do it, Trump wouldn't do it.
The U.S. is taking things further. I see.
We're bringing these people to justice. The legality of this, I'm not entirely sure if that would be possible at this point, but something like that. Maybe.
I disagree. I don't think that the United States. No, dude, come on. You're talking out of your ass. I'm really glad that we're talking about it, though. It's a really interesting conversation. The U.S. is banning things specifically on the basis of it being perceived to be incorrect. This is incorrect, therefore ban it. Yeah, I would say that the people banning things for those bases in the United States are. I'd say the same should happen in the Soviet Union. It's just that we don't actually talk about it being Silicon Valley versus it being the KGB.
Maybe make more of a public show of condemning some of these big CEOs who are engaging in
or the Politburo.
obvious fucking crimes against the American people. If you do that, you kind of build public support for people starting to distrust these groups. Maybe introduce a couple of legislative actions within maybe given certain districts or even certain states that de-emphasize the relative power of landlords. Hey, what if we start implementing, what is it called, right of first purchase, so that after businesses go under, before they're sold off to the banks, the workers have the opportunity to collectively purchase that business. We start implementing these policies.
I want to hear that. That was interesting. Legislative solution.
Obvious fucking legality of this. AOC, imagine like AOC, like up there, like, hey, Obama wouldn't do it, Bush wouldn't do it, Trump wouldn't do it, we're bringing these people to justice. The legality of this, I'm not entirely sure.
Not sure what speakers he's referring to there. Sorry, I let the video play while I was reading your shit.
That would be possible at this point, but something like that. Maybe make more of a public show of condemning some of these big CEOs who are engaging in
Oh, like 2008 plutocrats?
Obvious fucking crimes against the American people. If you do that, you kind of build public support for people starting to distrust these groups. Maybe introduce a couple of legislative actions within maybe given certain districts or even certain states that de-emphasize the relative power of landlords. Hey, what if we start implementing what is it called, right of first purchase, so that after businesses go under, before they're sold off to the banks, the workers have the opportunity to
No, no, no,
collectively
no, no, no,
purchase
no, no,
that
no, no,
business.
no, 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 no. What? No, you can't do that. Sorry. No, 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 no. If you sign up for a loan from the bank gets to be the first people on the list for the loan and for repossession. That's what right do the workers have? Come on, man. What? Do you think the workers should just get to own the business because they work there?
We start implementing these policies incrementally up
I
to
mean,
a
that is what he thinks. That's like literally entirely what he thinks.
point
That's funny,
where the
actually.
general population is getting more and more sold on harder
Oh, thanks
ideas.
for tuning in, man. Hope you're having a good afternoon. Coming up on the first hour mark of the stream.
Not just Medicare for all, but stuff like full decommodification of certain industries. If we can move people in that direction, there's a very real chance that we can do this over electorally. Now, mind you, and I'm being very, very, very simplistic here, mind you, with all of that being said, this is only reformist work. We can engage in this reformist work all day long. And
What do you think of that right to purchase stuff, man? If you're still in the
we
chat.
can go a long way with it. And I'm of the opinion, by the way, generally speaking, that when you show people positive examples of left-leaning values working, that's going to move them further to the left. But I am not of the opinion, at this particular moment, at the very least, that the full seizure of the means of production is something that we are going to be able to do merely through reformism and electoralism, by which the goal would be, if at all possible, to have as much support within the government as possible before any such thing happens. Now, I'm not advocating we start a revolution. I have
Kill all Republicans. I gotta stop reading Vaush's chat.
made the argument that the material conditions of our world, especially in a climate crisis world, will eventually lead towards some sort of extremely radical.
In what world does the bank should some workers who have nothing to do with the financial agreement of running a business get in line to? How would they even get the capital to purchase it without the bank? Maybe they should get the opportunity to sign on to the loan if they can afford it. You know what I mean? Maybe that. Maybe we could write some piece of legislation that allows. No, we don't even need the legislation. I actually feel like a bank would actually be really interested in if we made it possible. I'm not sure how impossible it is now. A bank would be very interested in if a business was being run poorly by its leader, retaining its relationship with the business and just putting it under new management onto the workers. I feel like maybe we could write some legislation that makes a process like that easier than just giving workers the right to purchase a business before a bank. I think it is better if the business goes under anyway. It's better than the banks getting it, and see what he means there. But he thinks that if that happened everywhere, we'd have socialism. I don't really understand what you said there, man. Sorry.
Violent action within this country's borders. And if that happens,
I'm for a more comprehensive economic program that includes both private and public businesses and does not have a goal to make everything public. That's not the idea. Yeah, that seems like a much more realistic idea.
it would be much easier for us to win if we are popular within the government, because that will mean not only do we have seats of power within the existing government, it will also mean that a greater portion of the population will like us. That's what matters most at the end of the day. We work on the ground.
I also think that the existence of private business is fine, and I'm glad that you do.
To make people.
You seem like a much more reasonable socialist than Vaush.
People like our ideas, and we put people in office who will disseminate policies that make them like our ideas.
Am I Dark Side Phil? I'm afraid I'm not Dark Side Phil. I've never heard of that guy. Cool. Flair. How do you get that? Oh, you donated to a direct relief charity stream in 2018. That's how you get your little cute little snowflake. You think finance should be public? Yeah, man. I have spent a little bit of time for my political platform, which you can check out, linked at the YouTube channel down below. Thinking about, not on my political platform, I would say. I'm considering alternative methods of central banking that would be more. Vaush is a scumbag, dude. Everyone who comes into this chat to see, well, so many people come to this chat just to shit on Vaush and then leave. It's fucking funny.
Make the world better now, but if one
Vaush is a scumbag. What did somebody call it? Something fashionista yesterday? A socialist fashionista? Oh no, a political fashionista. He's a C word. Damn, dude.
One day this system really collapses, we will be
Why do people hate this guy so much? Like, he seems like kind of like an asshole to me, and he seems nah, you know what? I don't want to talk about how much of an asshole he is until we're done.
in a
We haven't really seen him be a huge asshole yet on stream, you know what I mean?
position to win.
Yeah, well, I was wondering when someone was gonna bring this up. I actually have a video. That Bad Empanada video, that talks about how he might be a pedophile using comments that he has made since 2017, primarily in text. I'm not sure about whether or not we should go through that video on stream. Calling someone a pedophile is heavy, man. I'm not sure if I want to do that without proving it, and I'm not sure I want to use somebody else's evidence and not do my due diligence on their research. But dude, I fucking seen the first 20 minutes of that video, and it seems like super damning. It's like, if you see the Joe Rogan N-word compilation video, it's like Joe Rogan is constantly saying, say N-word. They said the N-word. He's almost never, using it derogatorily. And if you hear the Planet of the Apes joke that he makes, it's like, that's a joke. Vaush is like not joking in a lot of these comments. It seems like the contextual defense that applies to Joe Rogan does not apply to lots of those comments in that video. But I'm not sure if we're gonna watch it on stream. I might have even already talked too much about it. Like I said, that's such a heavy accusation. I don't want to launch it at someone without being willing to throw down on it. So I would much rather retract everything I just said than double down on it. Even though, yeah, it is sussy is the word I would use. It's pretty sussy. If I was Vaush's father, I would drink my liver silly. Yeah, man, I don't know.
Because I would much rather a violent revolution be socialist than one be fascist. That's what I would like to see for America. Now, of course, the specifics broadly vary, of course, and I would need to go over it, on a state-by-state, county-by-county level if I wanted to be truly comprehensive, which I'm not going to because that sounds incredibly time-consuming.
Vaush just wants to build socialism by fighting the culture war and getting people like AOC elected. That was his 25-minute answer. That's sucked.
The general goal.
That sucked.
That's why I care about socialism, that's why I care about market socialism, and that's why I want to achieve it in the way that I do. And I do think that voting for Biden is incrementally better in this respect for this plan of building socialism than having Trump in. If for no other reason than because if Trump is in for another 4 years in 2024, all the Democrats are going to care about is getting anyone who's blue in office. They're not going to give a shit about like gatekeeping or like holding people.
Yeah, that's not what they gave a shit about in 2024 at all. Sorry, 2020 at all.
Certain values. That's why Biden did better than Bernie, by the way. A lot of people agreed with Bernie's ideas, but they voted for Biden anyway because they cared more about maximizing the chance of throwing Trump out than they did in actually making their world better.
That part's true.
And that's what people are going to do. People will never like jump hard left. Democrats, at least, because they're all spineless. Because like Trump was bad.
If I was his mother, I'd look into sterilization
Or whatever.
Jesus,
they'll just crawl to the easiest
here's some of the regular Twitch chat that I've been missing this stream.
position they can find. So yeah. And that would bring about, ideally, market socialism, and then afterwards we can work towards decommodification, and so on, blah, blah, blah.
How, Vaush? How do you want to work to decommodification? I've been asking. Sorry for getting triggered. I've been asking for 3 hours and 25 minutes now, and he's not answered it. Do you want to do like a mass worker strike or something? Like, even if he said some dumb shit like that was like, everyone is not going to come to work until socialism happens in America instantly, and we'll use violence and guns and not come to work. And if that was his answer, I'd have a little bit more respect for it.
But hey,
he just pretends to be the most intellectually consistent political commentator. And yeah, we've been here for 3 hours and 25 minutes, and he hasn't sufficiently answered a really basic question. I don't know, is it the most basic question? I'm not sure if it's the most basic question about his ideology, but if he wants the intellectual cachet that he seems to assign himself, he should be able to answer how he wants to establish his revolutionary ideology. And he should not talk so highly of it until he does.
Listen. One step at a time, baby.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. I'm glad we ended right there. I'm glad we ended with that 10-second clip of Vaush saying that it's just one step at a time until socialism. Should we get into the next video? Where are we here? Right here. You have no policy solutions. Oh, whoops, we have some Quora here. Do we want to get into this? We've been going for an hour. We have some people on stream. You guys want to watch Breaking Points? I got the Breaking Points premium feed right here. I think I'll be right back. First of all, I opened all the windows in my apartment because it was getting hot in here, and now it is getting really cold. So I will be right back. Bam. All right, perfect. We're back. Thanks for your patience, folks. Somebody left, though. Brat. Okay.
That happened back at the turn of the century.
Let's hear. Oh, whoa. This is a Destiny video. We should say this. This is the first non-Vaush video that we're watching on Streamer Lore about Vaush, okay? You know, like, that's there. We should apply a little bit of a disclaimer here that Vaush won't be able to use his platform to frame the positions that he takes in this video. Somebody else will be editing this video, and yeah, you'll see that affects. I'm not saying that like you can inherently take Vaush out of context more than anybody else, but the editing in this video, which I think I've seen around half of, maybe even all of it, actually, I can't remember, makes Vaush's inconsistency much more clear. But let's watch, and then I think we'll be done for the day.
Back in the 1900s, 2000s.
Oh, sorry. Oh, fuck. I fell asleep. I'm sorry.
Why are you?
Oh, Destiny's such a fucking prick in this video. I don't know if I can actually handle this toxicity. Jesus, we've only been here for 6 seconds.
With Utopia?
Anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Vaush is comparing you to a white moderate. Wait, what? Why?
We're not going to comment at all on Destiny's ideological positions or anything he says in this video from the perspective of the Streamer Lore until we get to him, okay? He's getting a pass.
Wait, really?
I think he'll get a pass.
And that's too much. Can I not? I can't start earlier than 28 seconds on this clip?
Whoa, dude, Destiny is like redlined.
What is his site?
And that's where
Or maybe that's where it's actually starting and this is just like a Chrome.
and that's where the issue is they at the same time.
Yeah, you'll
Oh god, can we watch this video?
notice Destiny never actually
Okay,
proposes
it's fine. It's fine.
solutions to any of these huge problems, because he doesn't have any. His goal here is just be a stopgap, essentially a white moderate.
Oh man, I'm actually already enjoying this. This is actually kind of fun now that we've established like 30 minutes of base for Vaush to say that he's more qualified than Destiny. Destiny has neoliberalism on his side. I know I just said we're not going to talk about his ideological positions, but just by definition, because Destiny's ideology is easier to implement, he should have a way smaller burden of proof to take his political positions. Also, I am sure that in less than 3 hours, Destiny can say how he wants to implement his ideology.
He is essentially doing the thing that MLK complained about in the Burma.
Why do all of these fucking
Whoa.
losers who've never read a single
Calm down, dude. Calm down, man. It's okay. We're all gonna walk out of here
letter
alive.
book or anything relating to civil rights always bring up the right moderate? We've all read the fucking quote, my dude. This has nothing to do with that. Like, and I do have real solutions. How can you unironically say we can talk? I even specifically said to Voss, I want to talk policy. Policy is a solution. That's what I want to talk to.
I don't know if we can do this video, guys.
All you want to talk to is about all you want to talk about is your fantastic fucking revolution that no one gives a fuck about. That's never gonna fucking happen. And even if it did, you wouldn't be ready for it. And even if it did and you were ready for it, you would fucking lose. Like, how are you gonna sit here and accuse me of being the moderate or
Man.
being the guy?
Whoa,
That
chill,
real
man.
solutions. When everything about what you talk about is some idealistic fucking dumb fuck utopia that has never existed successfully on the planet Earth, has never been shown to demonstrate, has never demonstrated that it could be even successful anywhere on Earth, and is like fucking you don't even have policy positions to get your way there. Like,
Jeez Louise. I've gotten triggered a couple of times on stream. I enjoy getting triggered. I think you guys see that a little bit. I like working myself up. Damn. I like to have a little more fun with it than Destiny does. Looks like that affected him.
Yeah, the problem is that I can't even get to the policy discussion because most of these people don't even understand the systems that they're criticizing. I don't think I talked any policy whatsoever with Stryker because he didn't even know how finance worked. He didn't have any of the basic conception of how any of the fucking things he wanted to talk about worked. So I didn't even get to talk about policy. That's your fault, not my fault. Like, fuck. Sorry, maybe Vaush did this video a long time ago.
Dude, drink some water,
Good.
man. My blood pressure, my heart rate's been elevated by this toxicity. Yeah, you totally got baited there. Holy shit. Do you remember when I spent 25 minutes talking to that Dark Mega guy a couple of days ago? Compare that to this.
When is this?
I watched that, by the way, before I started the stream today because I was nervous about starting. I was nervous about trying to do Stream Alone Part 3. I watched myself get triggered by that guy. It was kind of funny, actually.
What is the date on this? Debate with Eric Stryker. Oh no, this was recent. Fuck, dude, Ian, you're so fucking stupid. I love you, but you're such a fucking moron.
Ooh,
Like,
hitting him with the Ian. Hitting him with the Ian. Vaush's first name's Ian. I think his name is like Ian Kaczynski or something. Damn.
how can you unironically say I don't want to talk about policy when you fucking jerk off some dipshit socialist utopia constantly? That's never gonna fucking happen. We both know that, right? You and I know that in our lifetime there will never be a socialist utopia in the United States. It's never gonna happen. Like, you talk about it literally as a hobby. Like, you might as well be debating like the most optimal form of government that could exist in the Star Trek universe. Like how could you say that I don't want to talk about policy? Like, it's so fucking stupid. Holy shit.
Damn. Whoa.
Socialists never bring policies to the table, and when they do, they're usually incredibly milquetoast or totally devoid of. And you agree with me on most of my major policy points. I don't think you're a fan of rent control anymore, if you've talked about it, or maybe you've done research on your own. You realize how brain dead the policy is, right? We both agree that maybe preferential loans can be given to co-ops, sure. Like, okay.
When does Vaush show up? Vaush does show up. Yeah, okay, he's
I've worked
coming.
all day. I've been up since 9 a.m.
Okay, new rule. You can hold me accountable to this. Anytime I talk to any more lefties about anything, I only want to talk about policies. We're never going to talk about as soon as they start going off
We can
on
skip
some
this.
dumb
Oh, sorry, we gotta hear the Vaush
clip.
clip.
From now on.
I've worked. Problem is, I don't want to see any.
Hold on, Vaush is saying I'm misrepresenting him. He's too much
In
French.
that-
Dude, I want to see how Vaush handles this like incredibly heated attack from Destiny. I don't think I would be able to take it super well.
That's where the issue is they at the same time.
Like if somebody popped off that hard against me, I don't think I'd keep a straight face. I think I'd start making fun of them. Oops.
Yeah, you'll notice Destiny never actually proposes solutions to any of these huge problems, because he doesn't have any. His goal here is just be a stopgap.
Can we just see this?
Essentially a white moderate.
Oh, this is
he
from the
was
trailer,
essentially
right?
doing the thing that MLK complained about in the Birmingham letter. People who oppose... It's not because he's white, by the way, because this isn't a racialized conversation. But it's fundamentally... He doesn't have, like, a solution or a timetable for change, but he's very, very interested in putting shackles on the people who are more concerned about change than he is, you know?
Jeez.
He's a fairly wealthy... I'm pretty sure his net assets are well over $1 million.
I wonder if Vaush made streamer or how he would treat his ideological opponents, given how we just talked about Destiny.
And it doesn't really matter too much. He's a wealthy person who has a great deal of material and social capital, who looks at the class issues of those who push for them and says, well, okay, sure, maybe, you know, I'd be in favor of worker co-ops or Medicare for all if it was electable and if people supported it, but they don't. So, you know.
He's too much
And
French.
that's
Okay.
Okay, go to Vaush's thing. I'm talking to him for a second.
Okay, here we
I
go.
need to calm myself down.
Thanks for your patience, folks. Destiny does need to calm himself down. This is heated as fuck, by the way. I remember how this is. It. I think it stays the amount of heated that it was in the trailer. The teaser.
We didn't talk policy a single time.
Wait,
In
are
our
you gonna
conversation,
wait?
you
I don't want to
realize
be
that, right?
responsible for you getting
I'm
banned.
not banned. I'm muted. We didn't talk policy a single time. We didn't
Okay.
go any over the different types of
Yeah, Destiny's already way too heated. Eh?
universal healthcare proposals. We didn't address anything related to the Green New Deal.
Wait, but
we
I'm
haven't talked
happy to-
anything related to
I'm
yeah,
happy
sure.
to talk about those things if you had brought
Well,
the
wait, wait, wait.
conversation in that direction.
3 hours and 25 minutes for Vaush to talk about any of the policies that he wants to implement. And We only talked about the culture war and decommodification.
that I would have been happy
You,
to.
no, I didn't bring the conversation in that direction because you wanted to talk theoretical socialist utopia.
No,
Do you
wait,
think
wait,
that I would-
wait, please. I
Oh, jeez, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough, isn't it?
literally never did that. I have never
why did we talk
on
about
stream.
it?
I've never on stream. This is why I feel as though your ability to talk about this is compromised. I was
Okay,
in
wait,
person with
can
you.
give
I
me an
never
example?
talked about a theoretical socialist
listen,
utopia.
I talk about policy.
Also, here we go, folks. I've reached maximum meta. I'm reacting to a streamer who's reacting to, I don't know who that other guy, that white guy in the white t-shirt is, but look at us. All four of us are here.
All the time. Why would you say I have no proposed solutions to anything?
I said
What are your
specifically to the big issues we were talking about prior to
Which
the clip
big
that you
issues?
saw. Global warming was the main one. Also, the manufacturing consent issue. I don't think those are things
Okay,
you can.
so the manufacturing consent issue is debatable. Okay, I don't remember you proposing a solution to that. And then also, like you're telling me because I don't have solutions to climate change,
Dude,
that I don't want to
Destiny.
talk about what you could do. What is your proposed solution to climate change, Vaush?
This is why we are watching this clip. This is why we are making streamer lore, by the way. I am so excited for you to hear what Vaush has to say about how he wants to stop climate change. This is the most prominent, not most prominent, yeah, actually the most prominent leftist intellectual. I would not say leftist political pundit. Most prominent leftist intellectual on the internet right now. And this is his primary solution to climate change. When prompted,
Well, I've talked about it with you. I think that implementing
it?
worker co-ops would be a huge.
You
step
have zero
towards-
evidence that any of that would work in any way,
Well,
size, shape, or
wait,
form.
wait, hold on.
you heard that, eh? You heard that.
Wait.
No,
Why
hold
are
on,
you
hold on, 'cause
shouting
brother,
over me?
I'm not okay.
Okay.
I'm giving
Worker co-ops are how we're going to stop climate change. Did you hear him earlier yesterday in his political left values test say how much of an issue climate change is to the world? And I'm not sure if he said whether or not people need to suffer to stop climate change. He did say that people need to suffer to establish his revolution. But climate change is such an important issue to Vaush that his primary solution is worker co-ops.
you
What a joke! Destiny's gonna go after him here, and completely rightly. This would trigger me. This wouldn't probably be Destiny's level of triggering. I'm not sure I've ever been this triggered in my entire life, but that would piss me off if someone said what Vaush said to me,
contrary evidence
and they were as popular.
that unions stand in the way of a lot of environmentally friendly things.
I acknowledge that.
And I've demonstrated that just by having a co-op, even on a logical deductive level, doesn't mean that you would be opposed to things that might hurt the environment.
Yes,
It doesn't make
but
sense.
however, large, broad-spanning policies that overall serve to the disinterest of the working class to the benefit of the ruling class would be broken apart by a dissolution of the class divide between bourgeois
You're not
and
talking
proletariat.
about
Oh, here, guys, let's stop climate change by eliminating the class divide between bourgeois and proletariat that has existed for over 150 years as defined by Marx. That is how we will stop climate change. It's actually pure genius.
policy anymore. You're
Wait,
talking
It's almost bigoted of me to question this.
about theoretical utopia.
Wait. Nothing I just said is utopia. I'm not a utopian by any.
Yeah, there's nothing utopian about removing the divide between bourgeois and
Breaking
proletariat.
sense.
apart
For
the
two-
class policies to unite the working
We-
class, the
Wait,
proletariat. with
wait,
the
wait,
bourgeois.
wait,
What do you
wait. This
mean?
is
Yes.
not utopian. This is just political theory. Yeah,
Okay,
not
let's
all
talk
things
policy
can
then.
be
What
solved.
policies are you talking about?
Like,
Whoa, interesting. Destiny's doing a pretty good job here, despite how triggered he
you
is.
said worker co-ops, but you can't.
So,
You
so worker
wait,
co-ops
but you
is
do.
how you're going to
wait,
solve
wait.
global warming.
You do-
That's your
no.
policy.
No, that's certainly a part of it, though. You
That was the first thing he said.
do realize, though, that sometimes you have to just.
That was the first thing he said. I still can't get over it. This is like the second or third time I've seen this clip. I still can't get over it. It was so straight-faced. How do you want to stop climate change? Worker co-ops. It's how you want to do everything, Vaush. And you have not described how you want to achieve your system of universal solutionism.
Justify policy through political theory, right? Political theory is the bedrock
I'm gonna try and be more open-minded with Destiny. That's what I have to say.
of proposing
I failed at my goal to be open-minded with Vaush.
solutions to the way the system works today. Without political theory, we are lost when it comes to.
Where did we? But I don't need you to proselytize.
That's
or
really
whatever.
proselytizing, like more than
Yeah, I
7
don't,
seconds.
I
of
don't need
talking?
the speeches. Like you can do that on your stream.
It's
what
wait,
did we
it's not a
say about
speech.
co-ops?
It's important.
What did we say about co-ops? It's not important. It's not relevant at all to this conversation. Obviously, I know that a broad political theory is going to be necessary to enact or to have a framework within which you want to enact any particular policy. That's common sense, brain dead shit, of course. So, what did we talk about?
Jesus.
regarding co-ops. What did I say? Do you
I
remember?
don't think we got to talk about it very much.
I literally told you I'm okay. I've said this several times to you.
You're okay
I'm
with them,
fine
yeah.
with with banks. No, more than that. I said I'm fine with banks giving highly preferential loans to co-ops to see if getting them off the ground is a way to move forward.
Mhm.
You
Yeah, and I
remember me
think I
saying
think we
several
talked about
times?
how opening up the ability for states.
See how that's like a doable policy that like legislatures could pass that people could do. I actually talked about a little bit about not preferential loans, but preferential like bankruptcy laws.
To do individual trial runs for like
Vaush didn't talk about that though.
a broad,
Oh, did he? He talked about right of first purchase, which is different.
broader range of policies. So
Yeah, that was idiotic. My thing was way more implementable than his.
be a good way.
We
yeah,
did.
that was a policy discussion that we had. I thought it was pretty fruitful.
It was barely policy, but sure. But then why would you say that I'm not proposing any solutions to any of these things if you and me are literally both in agreement on the policy level here?
Oh, that's one policy. I was talking
What other
about
policies do you have?
Well,
for
I
climate
said
change?
the specific comment I made was with regards to
What other policies does Vaush have for climate change? 8 minutes into this 32-minute video, 9 minutes into this 32-minute video, Destiny asked the very important follow-up question. How does Vaush respond?
global climate change and with regards to manufacturing consent. Those were the two main things I said he doesn't have solutions
Okay,
to
so
these.
I have really big proposals regarding climate change. Most of them you oppose. So I'm curious, what are your big ways to deal with climate change besides everybody becomes a co-op? Which
Thank you for that double follow-up there.
is meaningless.
Well, I don't know how it's meaningless exactly.
It's
part of a
meaningless
broader-
because you're not going to make every business a co-op anytime soon. There's no path forward to that, and you can't even begin to propose legislation to get you there. So this is not a real suggestion.
Well, wait. So you think that suggestions are only legitimate if they're posed within the grounds of electability? Like,
Is Vaush dodging here? I like I said, I think I've seen this 2 or 3 times. Is Vaush dodging here? I think Destiny's asking him such a reasonable question, and Vaush is like, in a discussion of any policy, it is possible to have it is necessary to incorporate political theory.
only if you.
It's
can
like,
get
that's
it passed through
true.
current
I think this is
Congress.
a
If that's
spin.
the case, then pretty much nothing's going to be viable with McConnell and the Senate the way it is.
Okay, so then can I just hear you say that every idea that you have is completely and totally electorally unviable?
Right now, almost everything that had to be passed through Congress would be completely electorally unviable. Does that mean we
Okay,
shouldn't
so
have
then you're not
conversations?
talking policy then. You don't have like a policy
Wait.
proposal or
So
any-
you genuinely believe there's no point in talking about any political changes that couldn't take place in our current McConnell-run Senate? You
No, we
realize
can
you're
absolutely
limiting
talk about
you're
those
limiting
things, but you
viable
can't sit
discourse
here-
to the
you can't-
most
no.
useless, restrictive congressional system we've had in the history of this country. We have to be able to work outside of these grounds because right now there's nothing that can be done within them.
Yeah, Vaush is more right than Destiny right here. Vaush, honestly, like, weaseled his way out of that question super well. I'm not sure if he was weaseling his way out of it on purpose, but, yeah, I don't know. He totally just turned it into a debate about whether or not political theory is valid, rather than what he wants to do to stop climate change, other than completely decommodify the global economy and eliminate the class divide that has persisted on the planet for over a century. That is how he would like to stop climate change. That maybe shows you how seriously he takes it.
If you want to pass legislation through Congress and you want to actually
That
fix
still blows my
problems that
mind.
are impacting people today that don't impact either of us because we both make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of YouTube. We're in the same boat now doing
Why
that.
are you accusing
okay?
me of not
If
being
you want-
considerate to the needs of the proletariat?
You brought up how much money I made, and for some reason you thought my net worth was relevant to the
Why do you
argument
keep
were
bringing up
making, so you were-
white college kids if you don't think identity characteristics are relevant to people's opinions?
Because overwhelmingly, the type of people.
Yeah, you know what? Vaush definitely spun there, tried to weasel out of it. Now he's trying to trigger Destiny so he doesn't get nailed back on that climate change issue.
Talk about meaningless cultural
I would
issues
love to see
on
data
Twitter,
on
our
that.
white college. What?
I would love to see data on that because, in my experience, many of the revolutionary vanguard movements inside of this country have been people of color based. And usually quite poor as well. The Black Panther Party wanted to burn it all down quite a fucking bit more than Bernie supporters did, and they were not the whitest college aged-ist group, you know?
Yeah, give me 2 minutes and I can try to find it for you. There was a big article about how there's a massive overrepresentation of white men on Twitter that are college educated that support Bernie Sanders.
Well, that's not
I can-
quite the same. I would agree with that. I mean, wouldn't white men be
That was
disproportionately
literally the
represented on
argument
Twitter?
that I just gave you. That people on Twitter are massively white, college educated, and privileged when they come on and they argue and they champion the fuck out of Bernie
Okay,
Sanders.
so you're against accelerationist rhetoric when it comes to burning the
Wait,
system
why
down,
are we
right?
pivoting away from the?
I'm not.
from
Wait,
the
I'm
policy
asking.
things?
Wait. No, this is very relevant. I promise you.
Wait,
You're
no,
against
wait.
it
I wanted to
genuinely.
talk about policy. We're going back to
Come
utopia.
on.
Let's talk about policy in terms of climate change.
What utopian argument did I just make?
You're telling me that you just want to talk about solutions that are completely and totally politically unviable.
Right now,
How
almost
is that- how
any
is that a meaningful-
solution. Right now, almost any
No, it's not.
solution is politically
How about
unviable.
bringing back multilateral?
Is there a middle ground, Vaush, between what could pass the Republican Senate and completely transforming the entire global economic system instantly. Is there a middle ground between those two things?
Lateral trade.
Not according to Vaush,
These are
apparently.
McConnell would
There's nothing about middle ground that he's in favor of that he mentions in 32 minutes.
sit it on the table. He wouldn't have a vote on it.
So Republicans are opposed to things like NAFTA and the TPP and everything now? The Republicans would be completely not okay with any type
Just
of like
this is yes or
large-scale
no.
trade
Do
agreement?
you think there's value in discussing things that you don't believe McConnell would be willing to have a vote held on?
Say yes.
I think that you can get votes on stuff like trade policy.
Maybe a few things. Yeah, he doesn't shelf every bill, but most stuff, hundreds of bills been sitting on his desk. Most stuff is not currently viable. However, I do think a really big part of political discourse is not just the literal physical legislation that you put through, but the broader ideological pushes you make to legitimize certain types of bills. That's how we got.
There are levels of discourse that we can have, though. We can have a conversation.
Dude,
about,
is Vaush really on stream right now holding a poll about whether or not Destiny's acting in good faith
under a McConnell
in
Senate?
front of him?
Not very much. We could have a conversation about, well, what's more possible if we flip the Senate? That's a conversation that we can have. Those are the conversations I'm interested in. The conversation of, well, what if we eradicate the class structure and make every single business co-op? Not interested in that. It's fantastical, delusional bullshit. That's
Wait.
not gonna happen.
Why do you?
Like I said, I can't decide whether or not Vaush is truly spinning here. I like his question about the validity of political theory to the discussion of policy implementation was important, but it totally allowed him to weasel out of Destiny's questioning on alternative climate policies. And when Destiny tried to bring the conversation back there, Vaush spun out of it again.
Why do you insist on making these ridiculous arguments? I've never said that everything that I propose has to be done in the context of a worker socialist society.
Wow, he closed that poll in 2 fucking seconds. It's already
what's
over.
more, it's not
why are you suggesting
utopian.
I have no proposals just because McConnell won't pass things in the Senate?
Because I was specifically talking about global climate change. And
That's
why
funny.
I
I'm
talked
concerned.
about global climate change. What are your policy positions on global climate change?
I don't think
It's
right
like
now
Number
there
three.
are any policy positions
Number
that are
three.
viable within our current government that could do anything to prevent the catastrophe to come. I
Even
think
if we
it's too
flip the
late.
Senate?
Even if we flip the Senate, I don't, because anything
so
severe
then-
enough to actually make positive change would do a ridiculous decrease in the productivity
Okay,
of
So
our
you
industry.
have no policy suggestions. Why would you accuse me of that?
Well,
when
that's
you're
the-
literally
because-
the one who said-
Ding!
because
Go!
that's the
Come on!
difference.
Thank
I
you,
don't
Destiny! Come
think so.
on! I hope I'm not being too unfair to Vaush here.
Solutions need to only be policy based. I think that broader ideological movements can also be a great way of changing the way countries
Which broader
function.
ideological movement is going to help us with climate change?
And how much will it reduce climate change?
Well, a populist socialist movement would probably lead towards a great deal of class antagonism that
Sorry.
might manifest in some way in the ability to electorally
Let's see that one more
restrict
time.
some of these businesses that happened back at the turn of the
Once again, did he just say that right? You gotta have a complete revolution if you want to stop climate change.
I think that broader ideological movements can also be a great way of changing the way countries
Which
function.
broader ideological movement is going to help us with climate change?
Well, a populist socialist movement would probably lead towards a great deal of class antagonism that might manifest in some way in the ability to electorally restrict some of these businesses that happened back at the turn of the century, back in the 1900s, 2000s.
Oh, sorry. Oh, fuck. I fell asleep.
Yeah,
I'm
what an
sorry.
asshole. Yeah, why was he being such an asshole there?
wait.
Socialist utopia?
What? No, I was talking about something that's happened time and time again in this country before, which is just socialist sentiment increasing a populist uprising against robber barons. Why are you acting in such bad faith? This is legitimately
You're
disappointing.
literally telling me because you
this
have
has
a
happened
dumbass clip out here
before.
saying no. Because you're literally saying you're doing this weird fucking thing where you're reaching to this MLK quote to try to compare me to a white moderate and then saying, well, it's not racialized. You're trying to bring up the level of wealth I have like it's
Yeah, look at all these things that Vaush is doing. Destiny isn't engaging with this political theory question, right? But Vaush is all over the place. And yeah, Vaush did say that about Destiny.
influencing my arguments.
wait, but you
and then
bring
you're
up
trying
the
to make
white-
this argument, and then I'm not bringing that up to you. I don't. I bring it up in general when I talk about there's a big problem with the
Oh, well,
overrepresentation.
I didn't bring it up directly to you either. I brought it up
You
when you weren't
literally
here.
directly brought up my net worth.
You brought up the race of the people that you have ideological predispositions against. On
you
Twitter.
understand that when I'm having a conversation with you, I'm not bringing this up, but when you're having a conversation with me, you are bringing this up. I don't throw the white whatever bullshit liberal at you. You are throwing my net worth at me.
Wait,
I don't
no,
have clips
wait,
of me
no, I
critic-
didn't. I just said it on stream. You said the white thing on
Yes,
stream directly to you.
I did not
Oh,
say
God.
that Vaush is just
Hey man, thanks for tuning in. How's your afternoon going?
white liberal whatever bullshit. You did say you brought up my net worth in some way to
Is it just a
demean.
personal thing then? Okay, so wait. I don't think it's a matter
No,
of being
it's
demeaned.
not a
I think it's
personal
just a fact that people's material circumstances influence how they tend to behave, whether that be
Okay,
race
then
or
we're
wealth.
in the same class then, dog. So what does that say about your utopia or your ideas about your class struggle or whatever?
Well, it would mean that if I did end up making a tremendous amount of money, or more than I do currently, I would be a class
Vaush doesn't make a tremendous amount of money.
trader, certainly. But I'm not saying individuals can only act in accordance with behavior prescribed by their,
This
condition.
is such a weaselly argument. I
Wait,
can't
wait, wait.
believe
What
you're
is?
making this.
Wait. Okay, wait. Okay. I'm not trying to be like bad faith or antagonistic. As I see it, we both believe, generally speaking, that people's behavior can be influenced by their conditional
Yeah, this is
circumstances.
so weaselly right now. Holy shit!
I
can't
don't
believe you're
understand.
doing
I
this.
genuinely don't. Can you explain to me? I
Tell
don't
me what
understand.
I'm struggling. I can't decide.
you
Yeah.
don't agree with it. When you bring up out of nowhere, totally unprovoked, my net worth,
Also, we don't have the prologue here. We don't know when Vaush said this shit on
your
stream.
goal there is to poison the well, to make it so that everything I say is tainted with my class. Like it's somehow an argument against what I'm saying. Do you deny that that's what you're doing?
Oh yeah, that your behavior is possibly tainted by your class. Absolutely, yeah. I think you do the
So
same thing when
how
you
is
make
that
the white class reductionist, larpy, white boy socialist who just wants to burn it all down. I feel as though you're poisoning the well in a similar way. I just think.
Come on, Vaush. You really aren't. You really don't think you're LARPing socialism when your solution to climate change is decommodification, and your solution to everything is decommodification? It's not LARPing.
That my wealth.
We've been here for a long time. Been here for 3 hours and 40 minutes now, and we still haven't heard how Vaush wants to stop climate change, or how he wants to establish his decommodified system of, decommodified economy with no hierarchy
Wasting in this case is more materially defensible than yours. But if it bothers you, I won't make
or
that
central
argument.
Can you
planning.
show me a single argument I've made that's like because of my class?
Well, I mean, it doesn't work that way. I couldn't show you an argument a person made because they're white either. People like Candace
I
Owens
can.
exist.
So, for instance, when I argue with a socialist and they say things like Democrats stand for meaningless cultural changes instead of important class changes, that sounds to me like white straight privilege because things like gay marriage, things like abortion, things like what's going on at the border don't impact you. Things like DACA, you don't care about these things. So that's an example of me pointing out how, hey, it feels like your position here, your privileged position here, is having a negative impact on your ability to see through these arguments.
No, yeah,
when you
I
try
agree
to
with
throw
that.
my net worth at me, I never make an argument. I want to keep my wealth. I've
Well,
consistently come out
nobody
in favor
says
of
it.
higher taxes. I've consistently come out saying things like I don't think free healthcare or free schooling should be
I think Destiny's being more good faith than Vaush in this clip. He's just way too triggered to handle it.
given to like
Vaush is acting more in bad faith. Destiny is struggling to maintain the direction of the conversation around climate change. But also, he's also here to defend himself from whatever the fuck Vaush said about him before.
my kid. It doesn't make sense. I've consistently always been against the interests of my class when it comes to things.
This is actually one of the ways that Vaush is really good at beating people in debates, is by getting them to get angry about things and then seeming calm and then asking them why they're angry about what he said.
Tax policy.
Oh.
In fact, if anything, I would be more motivated to say things like everything should be a co-op because guess what? I don't actually run a business like that anyway. So like if anything, I could go even further into saying that. Like
So, a few things there. For one, it's absolutely possible for people's arguments to be influenced by their privilege, but all of the privileged white boy arguments that you could find on Twitter, I've heard black people say as well. Your class position and your racial position and what have you can influence your perspectives, but it's not like a one-to-one determining factor.
16 minutes, folks, and then we're done.
There's undeniably, you're absolutely a class progressive in some respects. I'm not saying that you're you go on stream and you're like, ha, because I made 300,000 last year, I will now oppose this tax bill. I'm not saying that. I do think it's something that broadly influences your politics as it influences mine. Again, I didn't think this would be a huge. Again, I won't make the argument that your class position is influenced by your wealth again in the future, but I would humbly request you stop mischaracterizing everyone online who's revolutionary as like a white boy college kid. I just don't think that's accurate historically or contemporarily. And even
why
if it
are
was
you
accurate,
saying
it's not an argument.
historically? Historically, there is no Twitter usage. The Black Panthers didn't have a Facebook group. I don't know why I don't know if you're just throwing in words to make the argument sound more prestigious.
Historically, as in historically, where we can see most leftist action take place in this country, because the left has been dead for the past 20 years or longer, we can see that this is not something exclusive to college-age white people.
I never said that Bernie Sanders support or that leftism.
I wish we could skip ahead. This video needs chapters. I'm mostly just here to hear Vaush news about climate change. Oh shit, didn't mean to do that.
Just because they're white or how that relates to it. I gave you a specific example of a
You know what?
record live. I asked you specifically. I said,
Yeah, let's just do the last 10 minutes.
Who are a huge influence.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna be stuck on this racialism, Stunlock.
in global climate
Wow,
change.
cool. So it
Oh.
sounds like we agree on the policy points.
Okay,
You
what
said it. Climate change. Do you think he answered a question?
do you think? Do you have any idea how
Mm-hmm.
severe a policy would have to be for it to, at this point in time, really turn back climate change? I mean, actually do something about it. Not
Sure,
prevent,
but I
you
know
know,
the vehicle through which it happens, and the vehicle through which it happens is through multilateral trade policies. There is no
but
other
I've argued
reasonable
that.
discourse.
I've argued that. I've said that I disagree with
3 hours and 40 minutes. Did not argue it.
the destruction of the TPP and NAFTA because it was the only way for us to economically leverage our power over countries like China, who are a huge influencer in global climate
Wow,
change.
cool. So it
You didn't
sounds like
say
we-
anything about climate change till the
Not
end there.
prevent,
But I
you
know the
know,
vehicle through which it happens, and the vehicle through which it happens is through multilateral trade policies. There is no
But
other
I've argued
reasonable
that.
discourse.
I've argued that. I've said that I disagree with the destruction of the TPP and NAFTA because it was the only way for us to economically leverage our power over countries like China, who are a huge influencer in global climate
Wow,
change.
cool.
So you're not in favor of those policies to reduce climate change. You're in favor of those policies to manipulate the country. Sorry, manipulate the countries that China manipulates.
So it sounds like we agree on the policy points. Why would you say I have no solutions?
Because it's not a solution. It's not politically viable for us to reenact the TPP and NAFTA, is it? Not with McConnell
What do
in
you
the
think
Senate.
is more likely, getting a multilateral trade agreement passed or having the entire class structure of the United States
And what
dramatically change?
threshold of likeliness is it no longer relevant to talk about political solutions?
I think that if
Find
we
the
flip
exact
switch-
line for me if you would. And
Where does it start, Vaush?
why exactly
Where does it start for you,
do you
man?
think that you have the right
I
to tell
don't know
people?
where the exact line
How many hours have you been streaming?
is, but
How much of the shit that you says crosses the line of political feasibility?
I know that there is a massive difference between the entire class structure of the United States being reshaped versus passing multilateral trade agreements.
It's a good thing I
If
advocate
you
for
can't
both.
acknowledge that, Sure, you can advocate for both if you want, but just because you have a more fantastic and grandiose fucking vision for, 150
Yeah,
years
I have
into the Blade Runner
short-term
future,
goals and long-term
doesn't mean,
goals.
but that doesn't mean you can look to people that are looking at pragmatic policy and go, oh, well, this guy doesn't care about anything. He doesn't have any solutions proposed to these grand problems.
We had a conversation in person about this just a few days ago, and I think on the subject of climate change, you acknowledged that the free market probably wasn't going to find a solution. You threw your hands up in the air.
What kind of a pivot was that? What do multilateral trade agreements have to do with the free market?
Because
why
we had
would you
a di-
think that I would? Why
Wait,
would you think I
because
would
we had a
expect that
Did
the free
Vaush
market-
pivot there again?
You have a more fantastic and grandiose fucking vision for 150
Yeah,
years.
I have
into the Blade Runner
short-term
future.
goals and long-term
Doesn't
goals.
mean, but that doesn't
That's
mean
not a
you can
pivot.
look to people that are looking at pragmatic policy and go, oh, well, this guy doesn't care about anything. He doesn't have any solutions proposed to these grand problems.
We had a conversation in person about this just a few days ago, and I think on the subject of climate change, you acknowledged that the free market probably wasn't going to find a solution. You threw your hands up in the air.
What kind of a
Yeah, this is a
was
pivot.
that? What do multilateral trade agreements have to do with the free market?
Because
why
we had
would
a
you
di-
think that I would? Why
Wait,
would you think I
because
would
we had a
expect that the free
discussion,
market would solve
And a
climate
chatter,
change?
because well, I mean, the TPP would be a mechanism through which the free market would allow us to leverage. Because
no,
we had
no, wait, hold on. This is absolutely not true. The TPP would be a way by which we can enforce government regulation, which is anti-free market, onto other countries that enact these trade agreements with us. The whole point of the TPP is to use your economy and then your government regulation and enforce other countries to follow. It's the opposite of the free market.
Yeah, but it functions through a market system, does it not? I mean, it's only through the interaction between the multinational
Say they're just arguing about semantics right now.
corporations that we're able to facilitate
I think we could have been done with this video in the first half. We're gonna finish it though.
this kind of trade leverage.
Social security payments function through a market system. That doesn't mean that all of it is free market. That's such a disingenuous way
Okay,
to state
sorry.
that.
Then
It's so
okay,
weaselly.
then my wait. You are really interested in painting me as acting in bad faith. Let me rephrase
Because
that.
you are,
not free,
absolutely.
not free market. Market then. Fine.
Okay, you
Oh,
can say market.
do we
but
lose
there's
the
nothing
stream?
wrong with
That's weird. Oh no, it's back. Sorry about that, folks.
saying we need like a market.
I never said it's wrong. I said that when we were talking in person, a chatter or some donator asked about our respective beliefs on what could be done to solve climate change. You didn't seem to have a particularly strong solution. At this point, I don't think anything can really be done to stop the coming change, because even revolutionary solutions take time to implement, and they're, not particularly likely to bring about. But what does bother me is that people have been pushing we just need the multilateral trade agreements, we just need the carbon taxes, what have you. This has been going on for decades now, and not only has it
Could have said carbon tax, by the way, as an alternative solution to climate change. Could have said anything other than the one policy solution you'd apply to everything.
really
You didn't though.
failed to substantively
But you have lots of solutions to climate change. You had 25 minutes to say them, and you did.
change anything. It's
That's 3 times or 4 times.
misled people.
Instead, you wanted to have a conversation about the applicability of political theory.
into believing that pithy milquetoast policy decisions can change what is essentially a climate
But that's
apocalypse.
not true. If you've lived in places like LA, you've seen a dramatic curve of pollution over the past 20 or 30 years. This place used to look like Beijing. Like there used to be smog alerts and shit in California because you couldn't go outside because the air was so fucked in places
I
like
didn't
LA
say
to
it did
breathe.
nothing. Just compared to the climate apocalypse that it is failing to prevent, I feel as though
Well,
its changes
you know what?
are.
It's done a hell of a lot more than any socialist country sure as fuck has in terms of producing any results relating to climate change.
What
Has it gone
socialist
far enough?
countries do you want to talk about?
You don't need to talk about any of them because none of them have come even close.
Well, we can talk about the USSR. We can talk about China.
The
we can
U.S.
talk about
I don't think.
Vietnam.
I don't think climate. Okay, I'm not defending the USSR. I don't think that climate discourse broadly was something that was that on the table when it comes to implementation back during the days of
No,
the
but
USSR.
like-
Yeah, you can just talk about all the environmental destruction that happened in the Soviet Union.
The
It's such an
extreme hunting
easy.
certain animals into extinction, having massive like
Yeah, wait,
ecological
what is
damage to
this?
different
What
systems.
now? This feels like a pivot to me because I don't
What?
particularly.
How is it a pivot? You're the one that just brought up.
No, I didn't. You did, and I don't care for the USSR. And also, the USSR broke up 30 years ago. Yeah, you did, friend. What I care
Friend,
about is bringing
What I
about
said, no,
positive
no.
change.
Wait. You made the claim that
these two used to be friends, by the way, if you didn't know. Apparently, Vaush is actually like a Destiny veteran.
capitalism or whatever isn't addressing problems related to climate change. It is. Is it doing it fast enough? No, maybe it's not. But that
That's why Destiny called him Ian earlier in the stream.
doesn't mean that we can point to systems that have either dramatically failed in the past or have no like even ability to exist at this moment in time and say those will do a better
Why
job.
do you wait again? I advocate for policy decisions that can make improvements within the system, and I also advocate for broader populist changes that I think can make changes faster. I have never been of the opinion that we should just wait in our hands until the revolution happens and then get working. I've advocated for people to do local electioneering. I've advocated for people to push for policies like the TVP. I've advocated for all of these things. I don't understand why I just don't think they're enough. I don't think that operating within the current frame of political feasibility is anywhere near enough to address these problems and others, and that it's important to have a broader, more revolutionary perspective. And if I may, this is exactly the same issue, I know, that Martin Luther King Jr. had to deal with, because many of the political movements during his time were very interested in the minuscule
almost there.
policy.
I think we should have been
proposals
done.
about
Only
maybe
5 minutes.
alleviating this or that aspect of the Jim Crow laws, or seeing an appropriation of wealth from here to here in very minor ways. But they rejected this, not wholesale, but said it wasn't enough, and they pushed as a populist movement for something more. And that is what I advocate for, simultaneously to work within the system, but to advocate for something better. I think this is an inarguable position.
What policies have you proposed to insert into the system to stop climate change or to actually solve any of the problems that you illustrate into society other than the mass decommodification of labor through a process that you have once again failed to elucidate in over 4 hours?
Yeah, sure. The position sounds fine, but it's a far cry from
It's coming up on 4 hours now, right?
saying that I have
Yeah,
no
27.
solutions
We'll
to
run that up to a
propose
half
for
hour.
any of this, which is just demonstrably false.
Fine, no
Given that every
sufficient
propo-
solutions. All right, a solution
Sure,
usually
if there-
solves a
if-
problem.
in
You
order
work
for them to
towards a
be
solution.
sufficient, for them to be some fantastical restructuring of our entire society, that is correct. I don't have any of those solutions at this point in time because I
Well-
usually don't waste my time fantasizing about
Well, a
them.
fantastical restructuring of our society was precisely what allowed us to solve many political problems back during the 18th century. I don't see why it's impossible for us to believe this could at least be on the table in the future.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you again in 25 years when we're still nowhere closer to socialism than we were 70 years ago. When
It's
we
like we're
were
done.
on the cusp of being there.
Wait,
so.
for one, you do
This was such a toxic conversation. My day is a little bit worse now.
realize that's not a response to what I said, and for two, you do
You
realize
do
I don't.
I think I could have a much less toxic conversation with both of these two, but I don't have their past.
Realize that by
I don't
saying,
believe
well,
I'm going to see a socialist revolution in my lifetime. I said this to you in person.
You do realize that you've said this a million times to me. That's saying like, well, we went from feudalism to capitalism, so therefore anything else we could move to. That's not an argument either, right? You have
Wait.
to actually like do the groundwork and demonstrate it succeeding.
That's-
Like
yeah,
capitalism and markets existed across many different types of feudal lands. Whether it was farmers trading crops with each other, whether it was armor smiths, there were tons of these
There
different.
have been
little shadow
socialist
economies
governments
that
for
exist.
centuries.
No, they're not that have worked successfully on any scale.
Wait,
no,
but
generally
wait,
they-
wait, wait. But those capitalist societies also invariably got crushed. There were a few successful experiments. I haven't read up on all of it.
What? Ah, that's so fucking funny, dude. Are you fucking for real? Dude, are you really gonna say that capitalism and socialism have the same pre-19th century record
that the
at creating economic growth and failing? That's a joke.
difference was that market economy.
Dude, I'll even open it up to the 20. No, I
Economies
won't.
were tenacious enough that they survived through anybody trying to crush them or through any other
No, they
opposition.
didn't.
and
They
now it is the
survived.
young-
They survived when people who wanted the principles of the Enlightenment to dictate their government policy eventually grew powerful enough that they could overthrow the
Yeah,
benefits
Vaush knows a lot about the Enlightenment. We heard how much he knows about it a couple of days ago.
factors of the previous system. That's how power spreads. Not through ideas succeeding in spite of adversity, but through power and people who are willing to kill to preserve them. And that's
And
what
you don't think the royalty or the bourgeois or the previous upper class wasn't willing to defend their systems as well?
they did, and
Capitalism
they
succeeded because
eventually
it's
lost.
a better form of organizing an economy.
Then
That's it.
feudalism. Wait. No, and because people who believed in it eventually succeeded in their beheadings and got ahead and took hold of the governments they needed to take hold of.
And socialists have tried as much in the past, and they failed over and over and over again. So it seems like it's probably not a really good way of organizing an economy that can't hold its own on the world market.
What specific policies economically do you think I propose that would be unsustainable in a future economy? Or are you just
I don't
literally
know,
doing? You're
because
literally
anytime-
doing the vuvuzela argument. You're literally
What?
doing the
Wait,
what about Venezuela
Wait,
argument.
no, I'm not. Every policy position
Oh,
that
this is so
you've
toxic.
given me, I'm pretty confident you've copy-pasted them from my own previous YouTube videos.
Less than 200 seconds left
So
in the video, folks.
obviously, I agree with all of your individual policy prescriptions. Most of them
that's a
are
funny
mine.
way of avoiding.
Firstly,
Wait, that's a funny way of
secondly-
acknowledging the fact that we agree on more than you're willing to admit.
No, you're the one that wouldn't admit that. I would never come out and say, "Oh, Vaush, he doesn't have solutions to anything." You said that about
Wait,
me.
why- I
but
don't
now
understand
here
why
we
you're
are,
so
and we agree
fixated.
with
Yes.
every single policy
No,
position. So how
because
can you say that about me?
policy isn't the end of politics. Political theory encompasses everything, not just policy. Policy, what's electable, what's viable, is an incredibly tiny fragment of the broader political happenings in a country. To end at
Weird about Vaush. Someone who's such a... No, we're not going to talk about it right now,
Policy
actually.
into
But if M3... M93... That guy was here earlier talking about the materialist analysis. Be very interesting to hear his perspective on what Vaush just said.
not address political theory,
That policy and materially improving people's situations is not the end of political discussion. Political theory is, apparently.
I'm sorry if it's boring for you, and if you're not interested
You
in it, then
keep
fine.
saying that I don't want to talk about political.
You've
God,
said you don't wanna
preach to
talk
your
about it.
choir so much. Like,
Wait, you've
oh my
said-
God,
wait,
it's
am I
so gross.
mischaracterizing
No,
you?
Like so much of what you say is just like trying to score brownie points. with
Wait,
your
am I?
audience. It's fucking
Dude, you're the
pathetic.
one who keep. Wait, you're the one who.
I think that Vaush is actually pretty much quoting Destiny to Destiny right now. Didn't Destiny say that he's not interested in talking about political theory?
keeps accusing me of acting in bad faith.
I have never said that we should never. I literally spent how much of my time talking about.
You
fucking
pretended to fall
philosophy.
asleep earlier when I just talked about a solution I had. You talked
Yep.
in the
My
stream I was looking
initial
at about how you
contention
don't
with
like
you-
talking about political
My
theory.
initial contention with you is you
Vaush is totally right here, I think.
said that I have no proposed solutions.
No
to
sufficient
any of these
proposed solutions.
problems.
Yeah, sufficient. My
You said
apologies.
no proposed solutions to these problems.
Well, okay, in my mind, a solution fixes a problem. So a
But
sufficient
that
solution
has
would be one
nothing
that
to
fixes.
do with whether or not I think you could talk about political theory or not.
Then
If
why-
you want to
wait,
talk
wait,
about
wait.
political theory? That's
I'm with Vaush here.
fine.
Then
But
why do you
can't
keep
talk about
insulting people for talking about political theory?
I'm not. I'm insulting you.
I
for
just
talking
watched
about-
your stream segment. You were saying people who talk
No, this is so
about
fucking
our
toxic.
brain-dead
Yeah, we're at the
ideologues
end, eh?
who only care about the revolution, and you're bored of political theory, and you only care about policy, and you pretended to snore earlier when I
What
gave you a
I'm
potential
saying-
solution.
What I'm saying is that if you want to
Can we separate the discussion of political theory and the implementation of Vaush's idiotic economic system? Because Destiny was totally right to go after Vaush for his idiotic ideas, especially considering he's never talked about implementing them in the past 4 hours. And Vaush is totally right that political theory is worth discussing.
talk about political theory,
They're
and then
just
we'll
both horrifically pigeonholing each other.
lambast everybody else that wants to talk about policy by saying, well, they're not proposing enough, that is a ridiculous dichotomy. to hold. You
Anybody
can't do
anybody who cares only about policy or only about political theory is, as far as I'm concerned, a demagogue who doesn't actually care about affecting change. And I've said
I wonder if Vaush considers himself a demagogue.
the same
I
damn
talk
thing.
about
I've
both.
said the same thing about all of the fucking dipshit tankies out there who do believe everything that you mischaracterize socialists as. These class reductionist fuckheads who don't care about electoralism and only want to sit on their asses until mommy and their chicken tendies will eventually carry them through to the revolution. I think both are important. You stick mostly to policy, important, good, great. But when you say stuff like political theory is dumb, political theory is larpy, political theory is boring, it does make me think, is
What Vaush talks about in decommodification is barely political theory. I'd say it's more economic theory than
so
political
you're
theory.
leaving a lot of
Yeah, actually, it definitely is.
potential solutions on the table.
Vaush, yeah, in the past 4 hours, I would actually say Vaush has not spent a lot of time talking about political theory. He's talked about his personal philosophy and how he tries to operate from first principles, which, not political theory. Yeah, I'd say Vaush spent very little time in the past 4 hours talking about political theory.
And that does bother me.
When you're literally coming out and saying, "Oh, he has no proposals," because I usually ground most of my
Here's what I would say. I would say I have already spent more time on my relatively simple discourse channel talking about political theory than Vaush has in the past 4 hours, and I only have like an hour of footage uploaded to the internet on my relatively simple discourse channel. Yeah,
policy positions and
and half of that shit is a platform, not about theory.
electoral reality. That's bullshit.
No, you have proposals, just not solutions.
Okay, well,
I mean, they
good luck with
address
the
the-
socialist revolt or whatever. I guess I don't.
It
I don't
won't
know.
happen in my lifetime. I've said that multiple
We both
times.
know that. I know.
Oh, damn, did you just hang up on
Fucking
him?
Christ! I'm hosting Raj. Jesus fuck! I fucking hate.
Well, folks, we are done. Damn. Do you feel worse? I feel worse. That was a shit thing to end on, wasn't it? Fuck. That was so toxic. What should we say about that? Yeah, I don't know what to say. I guess I'll just take. Oh, actually, there's a little bit I want to say. I feel like I was way better in the first half of this video when they were more on topic than I was in the second half. I would also say that the second half of this video really got off track. If we were here to investigate Vaush's positions on climate, it didn't end up becoming a discussion on the validity of political theory. I think I should try and keep these streams to 90 minutes or less from now on. I thought that it was the Dark Maga guy stunlocking me last time that made the stream worse, but I actually think that, well, I actually know now that I actually just get a little bit tired after 90 minutes. I struggle to pay attention to the stream, what I'm saying, making sure that I don't embarrass myself, and looking at the chat at the same time. I can't do all those things continuously for 90 minutes. Sorry, longer than 90 minutes every day. I'm sure I'll get better at it with practice. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to have any intimation comments on Vaush's ideology that I haven't already said. I feel like I maybe went too hard against Vaush in the past half hour. Yeah, I guess that's everything I have to say about the stream. I really hope that you had a fun time watching. I had a fun time making this. I think that we're going to talk, well, not talk, I think that we're going to spend some time with Vaush on Tim Pool. I think we're going to do Destiny reacts to the Vaush manifesto post, because I think that is one of the best critiques of Vaush. If we're not watching the pedophilia video, which I don't think we are, because I really do think that is kind of bad faith, we should watch the Vaush manifesto video, which is a much more reasonable critique of Vaush. Also, that video I've seen, let's see, I'm 10 minutes into it. Oh, it's an hour? Jesus. I'm 10 minutes into it. It's a much more substantive critique that has receipts, quotes, it's full of it. And it doesn't take, I think it's much less willing to take things out of context than Bad Empanada. Also, I don't even know who Bad Empanada is. Apparently, he's kind of, I've investigated this video a little bit on Reddit. He's kind of a bad faith actor, apparently, according to them. Destiny, on the other hand, and Vaush are former friends, so they are kind of on the same level when it comes to their jadedness. All right, that was a horrific outro. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you in the future.